Let me start by restating my support for comprehensive immigration reform as the best course of action for Congress and America in seeking to fix our broken immigration system. We need a common-sense reform that will meet our nation's needs in the 21st century, and it must hold true to our American values. Real reform must take into account that the challenges that our immigration system faces today are multifaceted. They are not situations that can be dealt with through isolated initiatives that only address one aspect or another. That approach will not result in a better America and will squander the historic window of opportunity that presently exists, while true bipartisan efforts are underway in both the House and the Senate to find comprehensive solutions to these critical issues. Unfortunately, the enforcement-only approach offered by the SAFE Act falls short of accomplishing what America needs and wants us to accomplish, which is reform that works for our economy, that strengthens and secures our borders and our interior, that helps America attract needed talent and expertise, that allows undocumented immigrants already in America an opportunity to legalize their status and apply for citizenship, and that improves the efficiency and fairness of our legal immigration system to vastly reduce illegal immigration. While I understand and share the majority's desire to improve our nation's security, I don't believe that the approach of the SAFE Act, which would combine the criminalization of undocumented immigrants with the delegation of authority to states and localities to enact and enforce their own immigration laws, would accomplish that goal. It is very risky. It's a very risky approach to a complicated problem and could cause grave harm to communities everywhere by opening the doors to racial profiling, wrongful detention, and the criminalization of otherwise innocent behavior. And I, for one, I am very sorry for the pain that you have suffered, Mr. Shaw and Ms. Darden. I mean, and I tell you, I lost my own brother. He was the victim of a carjacking in Puerto Rico. So I know your pain, and I relate to that. But we're seeking a comprehensive solution. We want to address all aspects of this, not only the pain of victims of any crime, including crimes committed by undocumented immigrants, but also the pain that millions of immigrants are suffering on a daily basis while being in the shadows because the system is not working. And of course, I join Mr. Labrador in thinking and supporting that we have additional resources at the federal level to enforce our immigration laws looking forward. But of course, that makes all the sense in the world. Now, my question is for Ms. Clarisa Martinez de Castro from the National Council of La Raza. Ms. Castro, in your testimony, you mentioned the case of Eduardo Caraballo, a U.S. citizen born in Puerto Rico, where I come from. And I also relate to this on a personal basis, who was arrested by Chicago police and held for more than 3 days in the custody of federal agents on suspicion of being undocumented and was threatened with deportation because of his Mexican appearance. Do you believe that if states and localities are allowed to enact their own immigration laws, including civil and criminal penalties, and then given authority to enforce those laws, situations such as the one impacting U.S. citizens like Mr. Caraballo, which could impact me as well because of my accent and my Mexican appearance, will become more prevalent?
Without a doubt. And it doesn't have anything to do with being disparaging to law enforcement, which I would like to clarify and speak directly to. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble when I get home, because I have members of law enforcement in my family. What we did was actually cite facts and findings of investigations. There are bad apples everywhere. And I think that's why there are voices in the law enforcement community that are concerned about how these laws will interact with a number of things. The other thing that I would like to say is that there seems to be an inherent assumption somewhere here that there's false lines dividing the opinions in this table. And as long as we keep having that kind of conversation, we're never going to get to the finish line here. To present my organization as somebody who doesn't think law enforcement has us in this debate is simply false. What we believe, again, is that there needs to be a balance. And since there's been a lot of talk about public safety, let me just say that I do hope that when we talk about public safety and the public trust, we are making sure that the Latino community, 75% of whom are U.S. citizens, are counted in that public trust, because oftentimes some of the provisions in this debate and the conversations I hear could lead someone to believe that Latino citizens or legal permanent residents are not considered part of that American public, or that their trust is irrelevant. And I do think here, like I said, there is too much tragedy in this issue. We can continue to talk on top of each other, around each other, misrepresent what we say. That's not going to help us. I am sure that Ms. Darden can identify with the tragedies of mothers who experience the loss of their sons because they were beaten to death because somebody thought they were Mexican. Those tragedies are unacceptable. We need to address this problem head on.
Thank you.